Extra time.
No, I do not want the latest Windows update. Thank you very
No,
much.
no, no, no. Okay, I'm set up to record our spaces.
Wait, now I have to see how to
I'm just
join
gonna finish the
space.
last mouthfuls of this, then I'll invite you guys on that. My Pixel Buds broke, Zach.
No, I told you about mine, right?
Hmm.
I lost
You
one,
lost one,
and you
yeah.
couldn't pair to a new device if you only had one.
Oh, that sucks. No,
It's
mine.
like put both in the case to pair, and I'm like, I don't have.
Yeah, that's stupid. One of mine doesn't work.
That sucks.
Mm-hmm. But they replaced it, no questions asked, so they redeemed themselves. Okay, I'm adding
Well, that's
you.
nice. How close are we to starting the space? 2 minutes? 2 seconds? I can't see. Oh, you're in there.
No, your Twitter name. It took me forever because it's like
Pharrell
Pharrell something.
Okay.
Oh wait, you changed your Twitter name.
Yeah.
That was you? Oh, I was confused.
I was drunk on Saturday and thought it was.
Yes.
Okay, I'm recording my phone.
Okay, I'm gonna finish this thing because I don't want to be chewing on Twitter Spaces the first time I make one. So just bear with me.
No worries. Oh, my hair is amazing today. This is deadline hair, can you tell?
Wow. Yeah. So much going on today.
Did you go outside today already?
Not yet. I'm going later.
Whew,
It's my bike
windy.
light got stolen, so I have a new one sitting here.
Oh my
It's
God.
got like a different mount, so I have to like put it on my bike. I'm going biking at night tonight, like before curfew, so I really have to.
Watch out though, it's I'm not
Windy.
joking, it's really windy.
Yeah.
Like I went to the bins to get my trash there and I had to grab onto something.
Oh my God.
I had to fucking grab onto something. That was I don't think I've ever had that before.
Okay, so
I will
Great.
do the thing. So I guess I'll turn off this microphone at some point.
no, because
No,
we
I
need
mean
to
like
record it.
the loop back volume. Otherwise, I'll hear you twice.
We'll take.
Oh, you can take off your
headphones
headphones.
off.
What?
Just use your
Yeah.
set of Bluetooth.
Well, I've got
headsets.
this guy, so I can always do that too. But
What?
like
you,
the one
you
on
don't
the front doesn't record. It's not to do with recording.
Okay.
Or I'll just
All right.
take them off. Okay,
Start
ready?
your
Click it.
spaces.
This
Yeah.
is kind of terrifying. Okay. Oh, I don't allow microphone access.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Well, I don't know. Keep spaces safe.
Join this live conversation.
Am I supposed to get a push?
I got it in my Twitter DMs.
Okay, it works. But mic is off. Okay.
I'm a speaker.
Oh, yep, I did too.
Join
Let's
this.
see if this works.
Request
Tell
sent.
me.
You are now a speaker. Can you hear me through your phone?
I'm a
Not yet.
listener now.
Okay, I can hear you.
Hey. Okay. So you'll speak. Wow, this is pretty cool. This is really funny. I can't hear you through the phone at all.
You
but
can or you can't?
No, it just doesn't work for me. So,
Well, we kind of need it to work because it's delayed.
oh man, Bluetooth is
So
hard.
you don't
Hello.
talk
Hello.
over.
We're having sound problems, of course.
Wait, do you have your AirPods hooked up to your phone?
Yeah, I have sound effects and everything. It's very strange. So.
Oh,
this
but you
is
can't hear me.
thrilling. I can't hear anybody. I just hear like the bloop bloop with like reactions and stuff. It's very strange. And everybody else can apparently hear me because maybe I need to.
But nobody can hear me. Is that?
Oh my gosh.
Is that true? Oh,
How does this?
my microphone was off.
Oh, okay. Great! Yay, we're here. Hello.
Okay, Frederica, can you promote Frederica to a speaker?
Okay, I'm gonna make Freddie a speaker. It's very fancy when it works.
Oh, cool.
The delay is just enough as well. So for Zeno, who is in the room, the only listener right now, we are both recording through our podcast software and this, and it's very confusing because there's 2 layers of sound. Okay, Freddie.
Well,
speak.
we made it though.
Hey,
Yes.
okay. So let's see
Yeah.
if we can do this today. We're gonna try. We'll see if we make it. If not, it'll be fun. So we're basically doing our morning podcast that we would usually talk about tech and that kind of thing. It's for Charge Tech. And so, welcome to Twitter Spaces.
Wow, I can't believe we got this to work.
The first thing I want to bring up is that I just mentioned this before I got in here, but my Pixel Buds only work on one side, which is the most annoying thing ever. Like I have like one-sided sound. It's beautiful.
Okay, so luckily
Hello.
I've also figured out how to get it so we're recording my phone screen as well, so we can put that in the podcast later
That's pretty cool.
to see what that experience looks like.
So wow, it's just filling up. Hello, everybody. I have to say, it gives me very much stage fright. This thing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's different than normal, I would
It's
say.
really cool. Hello, everybody.
This is- Well, okay, so I guess the setup is we're going to record our podcast today, and we're also doing it in Spaces, so we can talk about Twitter Spaces.
Well, let's talk about that now. So I got added.
Wait, should we do our intro real quick? Or
Okay,
can we
Zach.
record it later?
So this is what our podcast is like. It's chaotic, but Zach is going to do our very fancy intro and probably mess it up. So bear with us.
I will, because I don't know what episode number it is.
Shit.
I think it's 165. Okay. Hey, you're listening to Charge Tech Podcast, episode 165 or 166. Podcast that looks at tech and how it's shaping the world around us. I'm one of your hosts, Zach Grosser, and with me...
Federico Motti.
And Owen Williams, and this is very strange
Hey.
in Twitter Spaces because it's live. It's pretty cool, and people can
Wait,
react.
isn't
which
that
is really
their-
cool.
Isn't that their slogan? Twitter, it's live. It's what's live. It's live.
Oh, really?
Something like that.
I have so many opinions about like they should have named this more bird-related things. Like, why did they name it Fleets and then Spaces? I feel like they really missed an opportunity to be like Nest or like
Meets.
Flight
No.
or yeah.
Tweets, fleets, and meets.
Oh my goodness, there's such a
But
missed
the-
opportunity here. So the reason that we're messing around with Twitter Spaces right now is because A, it's new, and B, I got invited to like create them. I think it's like rolling out now, right? I actually don't know. I guess people could
Yeah.
tell us. And we have been railing against Clubhouse for a while, and so now that we can try this format on Twitter, it's pretty cool.
They made it so Android users can use it now, but we can't yet start a space. So that was like the only thing is like I can be.
Oh,
a
so you're on
speaker
an
in your
Android
space.
phone.
Yeah, I'm on the Pixel 5.
Oh wow, okay. So I had to make this on a spare iPhone that I keep for like testing reasons, which is really weird. Because if I do it on, I can create it, stay in it, and join from my Android phone, which is a very strange
Oh,
thing.
okay.
But then the space closes just as I join. Because like my iPhone, it's really weird. Anyway, so I feel like I don't know anything about Twitter Spaces. Like, what is kosher on here? Like, there's no chat. Like, do people request to talk like on Clubhouse, or do they have to like? Do I have
Yeah.
to invite by
Yeah.
default?
So you
They
can
can
actually
hit request. Yeah, go
I
ahead,
see.
Freddie. Sorry.
you can actually request to talk or do like the emoji response thing, which is nice. It is
cool.
funny because I have seen a bunch of spaces happening, not too many, but like every now and again it happens. And to me, it's kind of the forbidden buttons. You know, you're not supposed to push them because then suddenly you're somewhere. I don't know.
I have a friend of mine, Shabam, in here. Do you want to speak? I don't know if you can like thumb up if you do, or like how this works, but we can invite you
So-
up if you want to try it.
There's a request to speak button on
I
if
see.
you're a listener.
Yeah, I don't want to like make
believe-
somebody
I believe-
talk. If...
And just
can
like
I just say,
FYI, I think I got the recording set up so that if you speak in spaces, we can put you in our podcast.
I
So
see.
like one, like consent wise, if you speak, you're being recorded. Like we got to be really clear about it every time someone joins. And two, like if it doesn't work, then our podcast I'll have to edit it differently.
We'll see.
can I just say really quick? So I don't know if you can see the captions, but
Yeah.
it does not understand my accent at all. Like it's just like occasionally it will, and then it will just do like the YouTube captions, how they're really bad. It's that. I feel like I'm watching a comical thing. Okay, well nobody has requested to talk yet, so I will assume nobody wants to.
Well, it's one of those things where I've been listening to Spaces in the places where I normally listen to podcasts. So, like, I might be, like, washing the dishes or something. And so it's not like I'm in a place to just, like, hop in and be a speaker.
Yeah.
Like, someone might be commuting right now or whatever.
Oh, it's also 8:30 in the morning in North America. So, like, well, on the East Coast. So, I wouldn't usually be up at this time or willing to talk on a microphone at 8 in the morning. So,
Good, you have us, Owen, forcing you to speak in the morning since...
You Europeans. I
it's
just
interesting.
to be clear, I got up at 6:30 to be here so I could take my dog out and be here in this Twitter space this morning.
The initial like user group of Spaces wasn't just iOS only, but it was also like US only for a little while. And so the first like week I had access to Spaces on my phone, I was only seeing them like in the evening my time because nobody was awake like in the morning here. So it's kind of nice that we're filling in the like gap in scheduling for European people right now.
I love that. Yeah, that's really cool. I think like as it rolls out, it'll be interesting to see how they moderate this as well. With like, because right now I think they're doing it very American focused because it's easy, like the Twitter team is around. Whereas like normally, how would it work? I guess they have some people in Europe, but anyway, I feel like the biggest trope on Twitter Spaces is probably talking about Twitter Spaces. So.
Right, sure. But that's what I mean. But we're recording a podcast about Twitter Spaces, so
yeah, that's true. Well,
yeah, that makes more sense.
I have this like weird take that this actually might get more adoption than fleets. Like I see more of these than people posting stories on Twitter.
I have honestly not been using fleets at all, and which is funny because on Instagram I basically only post stories, or at least in my personal one, and never photos anymore on the timeline. But it's just like you think about different social networks in specific paradigms, I guess. So when I think about Twitter, I think about typing something and not per se about like putting a photo on there, unless it's like art. But then I wouldn't put it in the fleets. I would put it on the timeline.
Yeah, I feel like fleets are for shit posting or posting your dog. Like those are the two things.
Because I don't.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't want to have like DMs from everyone that likes the thing that they see on the fleet.
Okay, that's the problem with fleets actually, though. Is like it fills your DMs, and I know that it works this way on Instagram, but it's weird that it goes into the same place.
So, what's happening there is that on Instagram, on my personal Instagram, that's just my life. I have like 400 followers,
Yeah.
And I know them all IRL. So if they DM me, it's just a friend sending me a text message that could also have sent me a WhatsApp or whatever.
Yeah, I see.
On Twitter, I have a different type of following. So, it's just a different feeling to get a DM from a stranger than from your friend. So I'm not saying strangers shouldn't DM me because that's not the issue. It's just that like I think about this before I post something because like what is the outcome gonna be? I'd rather have someone respond to a tweet than DM me immediately. I don't know.
I think you're gonna roast the shit out of me, but I've been using the like stories feature in Behance.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm gonna roast you. What? What is
I mean, I'm not gonna roast you because it makes I think stories make sense there.
I mean, the whole thing is like they gave me access, and I don't know how they're rolling it out. But they've like given some people access to go live on Adobe Live from the iPad apps. So you could be like drawing in Adobe Illustrator on your iPad, and you can go live. And so cool. I've been starting to use Behance as a platform a little bit more, just because it's like it's kind of Dribble. it's kind of Twitch for designers if you use Adobe apps. And then they have like the stories thing. So most of it's like complaining about Adobe software crashing. I'll like take a picture and post
No way.
to the
Really?
like story. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that so much. So wait, they invented a... Oh my god, that's amazing. Because if you would add stories to like Microsoft Excel, I guarantee it would be the same thing. Or like...
Right.
Even I'm imagining in Photoshop, like people were posting like something went wrong. Like... Is it actually that? So wait, is it posting photos? Like you can post anything?
Yeah. Yeah, you
What?
can post a video or a photo or whatever, yeah.
Okay, can you tell everybody, especially for Odd Spaces, what is Behance? Like, if you're not in the design industry, like, I'm not in the design industry, really, so I don't really know what it is.
I mean, the closest similarity is also a design community is Dribble. Dribble and Behance are very similar, but Adobe owns Behance.
Mm.
I don't know if that's the right pronunciation even, because they have a little line over the E, but... it's a place where you can post design work that you've done. It's also got a jobs board for, designers, creatives of other kind. And then they've sort of stacked on this Adobe Live thing, which it's all YouTube on the back end, which is kind of interesting. But it's pretty much like a combo between YouTube and Twitch. You can watch live programming or you can, watch them later. And they're all categorized by the design software that's used. So it's not always like obvious. Like sometimes I want to post something on there that's not specifically an Adobe app, so it's kind of limited in like that way. But that's kind of what the stories feature works for. Is I can document my creative process. However, it's kind of hard to build an audience there because most of the people going there are going there to like post their design work,
Right?
not necessarily consume other people's design work. Because a lot of people that consume design work are non-designers.
That's
Right. So this is funny, and I think I encountered the same thing on Dribble, kind of. First of all, I think I am too lazy for Behance, because
So it's LinkedIn for designers, right?
well, the thing is, to be successful on Behance, you have to make like very nice, like you don't just post one image. You're posting a project, and then you're posting it from all angles and sketches, and wow, like people make these wonderful, crazy, great, like, basically project folders of their stuff, and there I am just like, I made an illustration. That's it.
Yeah, wow.
And so I find myself not posting to it often. And the funny thing is that like it used to be such a community that was completely filled with ad agency people. So
Right.
if you were like doing lots of stuff on Behance, then usually you would get a few emails from like ad agencies. Whereas if you do that in Dribble, you get like tech companies asking you for things, right? It's a different audience, but I quite like that Behance is kind of pushing it to the next level with the lives and also with the stories. It sounds dumb.
So funny.
It makes
LinkedIn
so much
has
sense
stories
to
and
me
they're really
because
popular, so it's easy to make fun.
It's fun to see people's like work in progress work, right? And not everyone wants to do that on Instagram.
Right.
But to be honest, I think I don't know if I will find myself ever consuming this. But yeah.
Yeah, everything that I've found is good for me to post on Behance stories. Also works for fleets for me. Because, like, it's not like people that follow me on Twitter are exclusively interested in my design work, but there's a decent amount of people that have found me because of being a designer of some kind. So, I don't know, like, even if it's After Effects crashing and I take a picture of that, I can post it to fleets and some people will look at it and reply. So
I love that, though. It's just like the crash social network.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I like that a lot. I didn't even know that it had stories. It's amazing, honestly. Like, if you look around the internet, like a lot of things have stories. Like, it's easy to joke about this. Like, I made this point before, but LinkedIn has stories, and it's popular. I don't know what people post there because I refuse to install the app, but it's a popular thing, and so it's interesting that like the format works on so many different things, even if it is, I don't know. I love the idea of just like I might actually go and look at Behance stories if it's just people with Adobe software crashing because it's very on brand.
Yeah. Just one more thing about spaces before we move off the topic is Kayvon, the head of product at Twitter, was on Nilay Patel's podcast, his new one. I think it's called Decoder. And if you're interested in the future of spaces, I think that's probably the interview to find. We'll put it in the show notes of our podcast. Obviously, I'm not gonna tweet it now because I guess that's one way to manage this is to tweet while you're in spaces.
What? Oh, do you tweet? Oh, you can tweet about the space. Oh, I didn't even do that yet. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I just But the thing that I found interesting is they were recording all of them. And right now they're using that for moderation. Right? But he said there's a place where it could go where you could then turn it into a recording so people could listen to it later. You could post it as a podcast. But there's that concern that we sort of flagged of if you join as a speaker, you're consenting to being recording, and then that recording could be used for other things, right? So you could find out that you spoke in someone's space, and then all of a sudden you're on Joe Rogan's podcast, and so there's a consent step that they have to work through.
I bet there's people that want that to happen.
Sure, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
I wonder if that's an interesting tension, though. It's between helping people realize that it's being recorded, even if it is temporary. I remember there was years where there was every year there was a drama where because everyone thought Snapchat didn't save anything to its service, but this is not how that works. The government will be very mad, and so they do save some stuff for a limited amount of time for various reasons. And so I remember there were various cycles of people being mad that Snapchat apparently has servers that the images touch. It's shocking, but it's interesting that they have to maybe deal with that. On the flip side, it's cool to hear that they're actually moderating, or at least trying. Because it's the inverse of Clubhouse, especially in its early days, which was just we don't give a shit.
Yeah. Well, and they're doing a huge push toward community moderation, as with Twitter, where if you hear something, you can report it. Is sort of what they're going for. Obviously, it's problematic because it's free labor at that point. But yeah.
Interesting.
The interview was interesting because they were talking about how there was this feature in Periscope that I was unaware of, that it would show someone a clip and ask them to sort of moderate it. And
classic.
So they talked about maybe the transcript, once it gets better for spaces, that could be a way that it would be here's a 20-second clip and ask people to moderate that way. I thought that was kind of interesting, that solution.
Classic offload to people, but at scale I understand. It's also really hard. And it's an interesting way to do it, I suppose. All of this is making me realize, you said the transcription and stuff. How come, and this is a very strange take, I don't even know why I'm doing, my Google Meet calls, I wish they were just transcribed into Slack or into the calendar thing optionally, because I can't remember what I said after 30 minutes. And so sure. We have the technology, this thing is doing terrible transcription, don't get me wrong. Literally it's comical watching what it thinks I'm saying, but it would be sort of useful to have even that bad one. Have you tried to script? There's that
Oh, I used to script 3 times a week.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, can you tell people what it is? Because I know what it is, but I've used it once, whereas you're probably better to speak to it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting app because you can do a lot of different things in it. You can do full-on audio editing. I edit our podcasts into script. But you could also just come to it to transcribe a Zoom call, like you said. It doesn't do it live. I know there are other apps that are popping up that do that live, sort of transcribe as you talk, that plug into Blue Jeans and Zoom and everything. But Descript is... One of my clients is all in on Blue Jeans, and they send me the recording, and it's got the transcript with the timestamps on. And it pulls out highlights, which I think is really interesting how it figures that out. But anyway,
highlights, just cat bopping. That's what I would be half the time.
Descript lets you drop in audio or video and audio, and then you can edit both inline like a traditional audio editor, but you can also edit by deleting the text.
Oh,
and then because it transcribes it, it does these smart things where it will highlight all ums and filler words, and
Wow.
you could like bulk delete all filler words.
It's funny. That's almost like using a filter on your face to like make your face look flawless. It's like that, but for speaking. Like,
Yeah, I used to use it for like interview notes, and it was the same every time. I'd be like, "Oh my
Right.
god, there's so many ums. I'm just gonna delete all of these first." I just said
But-
again. So like, it's once you're aware of it, it's the worst. But I guess like one thing that would be cool for this is it would be cool to publish the recorded space, right? If it was opt-in, because Google Meet, you have like you click record, and it's like, does everybody consent to this? And then you can maybe afterwards you can like publish that, and that would be cool.
I think
because,
that's
like,
where this is going. Yeah.
you think so? Because there's another one.
Yeah.
I think it's there's a couple of competing ones that sort of do that, where you can like podcast. There's like a few, because we're using an app called Riverside right now, where we can like let people watch live as well, and it's sort of similar. And so I guess that's like the logical endpoint.
Your audio cut out, Owen.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is it
That's
back?
It's better.
Okay.
It's better. I would also say, like, think of the bigger picture of, like, what else Twitter's doing right now. They're creating super follows, and, like, you could subscribe to people's exclusive content on Twitter. They bought review for newsletters. I imagine that the first step will be you can join someone's space for live. Maybe you can join someone's space if you pay them, and then you probably get access to the recordings that someone's made through the subscribing. And
That'd
I
be
think
cool.
that it'll be sort of like, right now a lot of podcasts have like that Patreon like extra podcast
Oh, so jank. Yeah.
where it's like an extra episode a week
Oh no, I don't hear you guys
from
anymore.
the Patreon subscription. And I think that's probably the
That'd be
logical
cool.
step for Spaces, is like creating exclusive content through the recordings
Right.
that way. I would
Interesting.
imagine. I obviously, Joey's on here listening, and he works at Twitter, so maybe he can tell us. But
I love it. Again, it's early here, so nobody wants to talk in the morning.
But I mean,
But
I'm
yeah,
really
that's
looking
interesting that you
forward
say
to.
that. I think like I have a hot take that this is what Anchor had sort of promised to do when Spotify
Right.
acquired them. Like they had the weird voice memos thing and like whatever. But then they acquired Soundtrap, and it felt like the pieces were there, and they never did it. Like it didn't get put together.
I used Soundtrap for probably 2 years now, and it has changed like 0%.
Really?
There's been no updates for the like editor or for the podcast experience. They do a lot with like education. For people that don't know, Soundtrap is just like GarageBand, but it's web-based, which I like because I work on a Chromebook a lot. And
But it don't work.
and then Spotify bought it, but they really sell and market toward the education space.
Oh, right.
So, you know, a lot of schools are using Chromebooks, so it kind of makes sense for like music classes to lean into Soundtrap, and so they really focus a lot of their efforts there, and you can tell by their like Twitter feed. So the podcast editing experience is just like barely.
So I noticed that Freddie got demoted in our room, and I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah. So can you hear me?
And her microphone is no longer working. So this is not... Oh, it's because I can't hear her through the thing. Bear with us. Technical difficulties. Freddie, you can talk through the normal thing, and I can hear you now.
Can you? Yeah. Oh, she's gone from Spaces completely.
Oh yeah. I don't know what's going on. It said that my microphone was still on,
Okay,
but
you're
then
back.
it wasn't. Am I back?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
back. You're back.
Yeah,
for
I
those
rejoined.
listening, I'm wearing 2 pairs of headphones, so I had to remember to put the other ones, the volume on, because we're recording in the background our show, but also like, trying not to get feedback through Twitter Spaces.
This was so sad though, because I was starting to talk and then someone just completely started talking over me, and I'm like,
Oh, I'm
what the
sorry.
hell?
I have that on Google
But I
Meet
was just
every
not
day.
connected.
Yep.
Okay, we were talking about Soundtrap, so go ahead, Freddie.
Yeah, the funny thing is I could still hear you guys, but you guys couldn't hear me. And the weird thing also was that that still looked like I was a speaker.
Apparently, I can just turn
Oh,
it
wow.
on for anybody I follow can speak, which is interesting. I could just YOLO it at some point. Or hell could break loose, but
But anyway, I wanted to say I'm actually quite excited for the new things Twitter is doing right now. The
I
super
know.
follow thing seems really interesting. I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see where that will go. Maybe we can like kind of step from here into another thing I saw Mr. Jack Dorsey was doing, which was selling his tweets. Can we talk about that?
You want to talk about frickin' blockchain?
We have to talk about NFTs today.
Oh no, can we not? It's too early.
The problem is, I want to yell about it, but I also don't fully understand it yet. I've been working on understanding it, but I'm pretty sure I don't get it still because I just don't get why. But I also don't want to talk about it for too long because I think. Yeah, I also don't want to talk about it too long because the conversation has been quite polarized. And it's just people yelling, I have an NFT, and someone else going, but the environment! And that's basically all the discourse is right now.
I think it's the perfect combination of a polarizing, like you said, and money. That it reminds me of the GameStop thing where every single tweet, a news story, podcast, that was the subject. They're let's talk about GameStop, and including us. And I think that NFTs feel similar in that it's kind of there's two polar opposite sides, and there's money involved, and so everyone's talking about it.
And it's really hard to debate on Twitter. Everybody, you cannot have a nuanced discussion. And anytime that something is slightly hot, it just turns into a total flame war.
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I sort of miss comments for this reason on blogs because yes, it descended into hell, but at least you could make your hell of more than 280 characters.
Yeah.
I still have comments on my blog, but I need to turn them off actually.
Really?
Because they are full of spam and I don't know how to fix it. I pay for something that's supposed to block the spam. It does not. It's just it's a nightmare.
But what I thought was funny, I was reading on the tweet NFT thing. It's funny because I think it's the best example of how NFT is actually nothing. Because if say I tweet I love cats, right? And Zach buys it.
Great tweet. Okay.
Zach buys it because he thinks this is iconic. The world needs this. I want to save this moment. He buys a tweet for 1 Ether, whatever the fuck, which is a lot of money. But I mean, the tweet was pretty great. But it's speculative money also.
Cats.
So we're not completely sure yet how much it will be. But right now it's okay. It's an okay amount of money, right? Mm-hmm. Then, so what did Zach then buy? It's kind of unclear because he doesn't get to put my tweet on a t-shirt. He doesn't own the copyright to the tweet. Also,
that's an interesting question.
But you get to tell people you own it.
Right. But what is it exactly you own then? You don't get
I thought the Twitter one was a joke. I thought it was sort of I thought it was a joke. I don't know if that's half of my problem with this. Is sometimes I can't tell.
So I read this article on the Wired about it, about it, and I will link it in the show notes for those of you who also don't understand what the hell is going on. The other thing is, I could very much delete my tweet, and there's no rules against that. So what have you bought then? What is I could tweet. I could delete my tweet and say I like dogs now, If
we had editing tweets, then you'd have a real new problem, but we'll never get that.
Well,
to clarify though, so an NFT, when people buy those, it's like an image they get sometimes, or a GIF or whatever. They get a file, right?
No, actually they don't. It's a token.
Oh man, okay. So yeah, this
it's
is the part where
you own it. It doesn't mean that. Yeah.
So Jack Dorsey's first tweet that was for sale in a similar sense. Was it embedded on that website or was it a screenshot? Because it kind of just looked like a screenshot. And why couldn't you, if you spend $2.5 million on it, put it on a T-shirt and have ownership?
Print it and send it to me.
Because that's not what you're buying. You're not buying. You're not buying the rights to this thing. You're not owning anything. If you buy, as far as what I have understand it's kind of like buying, say, an empty box, and the empty box has a cover that looks pretty cool, But that's actually just a piece of paper.
Interesting.
So
Well, I feel like the actual nuance though is like when it comes to if you would, I don't know, I've seen a few albums have been released on NFT. Like for example, you can prove that you actually own it because it's like sort of historically been problematic. You know, you buy an album on iTunes. I mean, yes, you get a receipt and it's like this digital thing, but how do you prove it if the police come to your house? I don't know. I don't know why they come into your house if you bought it on iTunes. This take didn't work at all.
Wait, so the way that Frederica just described it reminds me of like patents. Like patents are like a representation of an idea. It's not the actual like constructed thing. Like if Apple patents the AirPod and then you own the patent, you don't have a pair of AirPods.
Exactly. You
or
just own the
production
idea of
capabilities. And like a lot of the times companies will buy entire companies to get a patent portfolio. Like that's very common. And so
cough, Sonos.
Feels
Number 3 patent holder in the world, by the way, still.
Really?
Yeah. Sonos is like loaded with patents to the rafters.
But the thing is, the whole NFT thing, what I feel is happening is it plays really, like, it plays a little bit with your imagination, what could be. And a lot of artists are falling for I don't want to say it's a bad thing
money.
yet.
Let's
but
not
like,
discount that. They are making
No, but let me speak. Okay. We can suddenly see this beautiful world in which people can be kind of like your Patreons, but based on a specific artwork that you made or whatever. Wouldn't it be cool if people could, financially support you in this way, and that we don't actually have to slave for clients or whatever, or that we don't have to go and work at a supermarket at the side or whatever. And this is, I think, a beautiful thing. I think this is what we all really want. The thing is that I think NFT is exactly not that thing.
Right.
And what I'm trying to figure out is, what is it then? Because you cannot tell me that last week, everyone with a shop that had prints and was selling originals and was selling, commissions and whatever the hell, was scraping for money and working that supermarket job. And now suddenly, there's a bunch of people that want to pay for art in this specific way. There were marketplaces before. People had their stuff for sale before. What makes it now that people want to spend suddenly the amount of money that they should be spending on art?
They had a shit ton of Ethereum that became worth something, and it's funny money. And that's, I think, where it's coming from. But
well, and like many art purchases, especially in the real world, physical art purchases, it's an investment strategy. It's this art that I'm buying is worth 3 Ethereum now. Well, maybe it'll be worth 3 Ethereum in a month or a year, but the idea is that also that Ethereum will be worth more too. Right. And that someone will still be willing to buy this for 3 Ethereum in a year when I want to sell it. And then that's the investment strategy. And I don't I don't necessarily agree that art should be bought for investment, but it's important that artists are getting their art bought. So I understand artists that sell, let's just talk traditional gallery model, not digital at all. A lot of artists hate the gallery world, hate the way the system is built, because the system is still fundamentally capitalist and mostly white male, rich, affluent, Western. It's still a lot of that in the traditional gallery world.
There's a lot of privilege there too. You kind of don't get in there if you don't know someone or whatever.
Can I just say
none of this sounds dissimilar from the NFT conversation right now.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
I was going to give a really spicy take that I also think people are extremely online right now. There's not much else to do. And so,
I think that's part of it too.
I've said this about Clubhouse and stuff too before. It's I'm very curious what of these things that have come out will stay the same after the pandemic. Who knows when after times will be. But it will be interesting to see which ones stick, and if it's a symptom of the hype and the fact that literally everybody's doom scrolling all the time. So
yeah, I think it's also just And I don't know. I think it's also just a little bit of hope for a lot of people. Like, see, finally we found ourselves in the age where people are actually buying artwork from people that are actually talented for 20K, and we don't have to slave away selling whatever in whatever. Takes way less time. We're finally getting what we deserve, right? That is kind of what I feel that's going on. However, I wonder, first of all, why does this happen right now? And who is behind it? And also, the environment thing, which everyone's fucking sick about hearing about, which I understand, is such, like, it's important.
That's really where we should have probably started the conversation.
I kind of didn't want to, because I feel like everyone's like, but the environment, and like, I mean,
it's very, yeah. I mean, it's true though, but yeah,
it's non-tangible. But the thing is, it is, and the thing is also that the people who are poor are gonna be like in the worst position for an environmental crisis. So the people that actually say, I'm doing this because I really need it, might also be the people that get really fucked by this stuff.
You know that I just realized that the original NFT was sort of that. You remember CryptoKitties?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think the same company was behind a large part of this, but
Yeah.
CryptoKitties was that, and a large part of I think like what is it's being used for is like digital, like primarily digital assets. So like in Fortnite, for example, maybe that's a bad example, but you can buy skins and stuff. Like you can't prove that you own it. And so maybe that's a way to make them transferable. So like there's another game that also has a Star Wars skin, and that could be where it applies. Because the other one that's going on that I also don't understand is the NBA Top Shot thing, which is like the clips from like the basketball. Again, like I have no idea what I'm talking about, but like those are massively popular, and that has been the biggest actual commercial use of this as well. So like there's clearly
I think
something going on.
They have
unless you trade them, that's the key.
Right, they have amounted to like 2.3 billion sales in gross. The thing is though that another thing that a lot of people don't really know is that if you buy something on Foundation, you can only sell it on Foundation. You can't sell it on Rare or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, because it's
Super
like an
Rare.
app. Well, right now at least.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not dissimilar from what Owen said. Is if you buy a skin in the game, that's it. It's in that game.
True.
It is. Yeah. And it's someone's MySQL database, like.
But then we shouldn't also skip completely over the environmental thing, because the thing is that I think a lot of people don't understand this. I mean, I asked some questions on Twitter about this subject, and not too many because I didn't want to, I didn't want to poke the fire too much, but
right.
A lot of people say, yeah, but they're working on making it more environmentally friendly, right? And one of the ways is changing the proof of stake to proof of something else. I forgot that part, but they would change something there, and then they were like, yeah, but then it's all right, but it also changes the structure of what Ethereum is and what they're trying to do. It's meant to be decentralized, and by changing this specific thing, it's actually not that decentralized anymore. So you're changing the actual DNA of the thing. Next to that, apparently, they have been saying this, that they will work on making it more environmentally friendly for 2 years.
Wow.
So,
I mean, this reminds me of Google also. I mean, actually, I was going to say Google is probably the wrong example, but all these companies that are like, Amazon, we will carbon neutral in 20 years.
how many trees can we plant, guys? That's not an endless thing we can do.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I also think like the fundamental conversation that I think, well, one, like a lot of these artists are saying like it'll change environmentally, it'll get better, and I'm here to make money and move to like the next version of how artists survive and work. Right. And I would say like it would be nice to dream a little bit bigger to like a place where you don't have to produce your craft just to pay the rent. Yeah. Just to have housing. Like, it would be nice to be a little bit more anti-capitalist about the whole thing instead of, like, let's move to a different version of capitalism that also uses more energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
will.
take.
I
But I
just
guess-
want to like say though,
Yeah, go.
I have been trying to like be supportive. Oh my god, I have a throb in my throat, so I'm just gonna let you talk.
Well, I think my fundamental question is there a huge difference here if Frederica makes a big print of her art and sells it on her website for the same amount of money, let's say, like whatever one Ethereum is worth, she could sell for one Ethereum, or she could sell for that dollar value on
Right.
her website. Is the NFT thing fundamentally bringing more buyers to artists, or is it just this? It's just the same people are doing it somewhere else.
So-
Like, would that person that would buy, someone's I don't know, they sell pins. Would they buy their pins anyway if it wasn't on NFT?
If we had something like the electric objects, maybe this, like, you can tell me if this is wrong. Or like
I
my
missed that.
Samsung frame has art, for example. It's like right now it's basically JPEGs. It's very difficult to do anything legal with them. So Frederica, for example, could make a thing like this. I could own it, but I could loan it to Zach's Serif TV to show it, or maybe even like resell it to him to show it. So what you're saying is there's like almost, it brings like physical asset ownership into that space potentially. I mean, there's many layers you could add to it.
Well, yeah, that's for me this thing where you can have this contract and have it state that 10% of every time it gets sold, it gets back to the artist. That is the best thing I've heard in a long time. I think this is a really great thing. I don't understand why this doesn't exist in real life, because we can also still make paper contracts, But the other thing is that other than that, I just don't see what it like adds at all. Because I don't think the people that buy my art to put it on their walls are the same people that would buy like the internet thing. I feel that the people who buy the internet thing, they are crypto nerds that want crypto to become bigger and better. That's a different.
Is, I guess Eric's point, right? That is how it is now. Maybe you can speak to that, but longer term, it sounds like the idea is it wouldn't just be them.
I'm not sure, man. I hope it's gonna be a good thing. Obviously, I want to see artists get paid, but I'm just afraid that like we are just blinded by artists getting paid. Oh my god, I also want to be an artist that gets paid, and then don't look further anymore.
I just am like fundamentally curious if this is bringing new money to artists that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and is it bringing new artists that didn't have access to a market before? Like, are people of color benefiting from this on both sides, as art buyers and as money receivers, or is this pretty much the same systems just shifting? Like, is it the same affluent, rich San Francisco tech people that are getting their art sold?
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't think we know enough yet, and I think we're gonna probably have to like continue doing this for a while before we really know.
I hedged earlier by saying that like this is something I've been really careful. Like, I'm trying not to be like too skeptical of all things. Lately, I'm really trying to be careful of that. And I will say, CryptoKitties was an interesting example of like trying to find a use case. And people have been hard on crypto for years about not having one. And I will say that this is the first time I've seen one that's like, oh, okay. Like, I grasp the conceptual like use case and what it's for. And so there is that element as well as like, for years we were like, haha, CryptoKitties. And now I need to go and check if I own any still, because I've completely forgotten. But you know what I mean? And thanks,
then own
Eric, by the way.
retires.
That was really useful. I just remembered DeviantArt existed and probably still exists, but I actually sort of got that energy.
But then on the other side, the environment though, like
Yeah.
what are we paying for? Like, like, is it worth all that? Like, are we just like excited to be somewhere front row, first of the show for a while, and then and then set our whole world on fire because of it? Is that worth it?
Yeah, it feels like a get rich quick scheme for some people. Like it's trend based. There's a trend going on. I can make some money, and then the first 1,000 people that got on Foundation are really like making some cash.
I just realized I've been like nodding my head and like shaking my head this entire time as if I'm on like a Zoom call. I do this like thing now, and nobody on Twitter can even tell that I'm doing that. It's like this very strange situation.
I also like like, one of the value props here is, like, verified ownership, but, like, what if someone goes to Freddy's Foundation page, takes a screenshot, prints it on t-shirts, and sells it on Facebook Marketplace? Like, that's still the same copyright problems we were dealing with before, and this doesn't solve that.
Yes,
And
but I
the
do
other
think the
issue that
example
we-
of like resell or like provenance is an interesting one, especially in
Right.
the digital space. Because if you're
But-
talking about like, I want to talk about Roblox at some point, which is a thing that exists, and Fortnite is the same thing. It's like you buy something in that, it's a piece of art, and then maybe I can resell it to Freddy's friend or whatever, and like that wasn't really feasible before. Well, I mean,
But the other problem is, Zach, and I hope and I think this will be fixed at some point, but what's happening right now is that you could also just go to my Instagram and mint one of my images under your name.
Right.
And then
right.
this has actually happened. As soon as it's sold, I don't think there's a lot I can do to be like, hey, but that's mine. So that's also
Yeah.
my money.
yeah, I suppose that's something that has to be worked out, right? It's like I saw that Photoshop is adding a thing, or at least has tried 70,000 times to add like DRM in the actual thing, so you can see who owns the original PSD file. And I suppose you're kind of implying that.
Well, and DRM's problem is that it's constricted to countries where it's legally enforceable.
Yeah,
You know, like,
and it's garbage.
right. There's whole like fast food chains in China that just are copies of different fast food chains, and
Right.
that's legal there. And there's nothing that McDonald's can do about it. And I don't know, like, DRM, yeah, YouTube could like remove you from their platform if you keep violating it, but that doesn't stop someone from like taking your video and then reposting it on the internet as their
Yeah,
own.
but I guess in this example you would know which one is the original, whereas on YouTube, I actually, like, very honestly, one of the big problems I recall with the Rickroll video was you didn't know, like, it was up, the original most viewed Rickroll was like not owned by them. Like, I recall that it got taken down a bajillion times and then given to Sony or like some bullshit, but that is interesting in that sort of way. God, original YouTube. I miss that, and I also don't miss it. It was the Wild West. It really, I mean, it still is. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Okay,
for me, just to kind of round this off, what I've decided for myself as a digital artist myself, and physical also now, I guess,
Yeah.
is if it could really be that bad for the planet as some articles say it is, I'm not going to be part of it until it gets a little bit better.
I mean, I think that's okay. Like, sitting it out and choosing not to is the best thing you can do, I think, as a creator right now, if you
Because-
don't agree with how it works.
Right, and the other thing is also that, like, the get rich fast scheme only works if you already have a significant amount of followers. So what is it, Beeple or Bleeple or like Grimes can get like 6 million, what was it, 6 and 6.5 million or something for the stuff that they're doing, but it's just because they also get those amounts for other things they're doing. So I'm never gonna get 9 million off a thing I post. And no one I know will either, you know?
Right, yeah. I want to go back to your environmental comment real quick, because I agree with you 100%, but I would want to, like, admit where we're a little biased here, because watching YouTube and Netflix, as much as most people do, is also bad for the environment in a number of ways.
Totally.
It's a lot.
Data
I mean,
centers
like,
exist regardless of if crypto is doing a thing.
yeah,
Right.
and Netflix and YouTube together are like more than 30% of internet traffic.
God damn.
Right.
So
That's
if you
insane.
want to look at the like carbon footprint of that and start thinking like, oh, if I do the math on how much I stream per year, that's pretty considerable too. And I don't know how it compares to NFTs. I have to imagine it's less, but
So
you know, there's a place where you have a bias too, because it's like a new thing versus like what we're already doing that's bad.
no,
for the
but of
planet.
course, and this is an argument that I see all the time. The thing is, though, that just because another thing you do is bad doesn't mean you
Right.
can just do all the bad things.
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh,
they
that's so
amount to
good.
something, right? it is a good idea to be like, oh wow, wait, this weird internet money costs apparently a lot of money for a lot of the environment. What else costs a lot of stuff for the environment, and what can I reduce to do that? But I don't think it's an art. Like, just because the other things I do are bad doesn't mean I should add more bad things to it. To me, that doesn't make sense. Besides, I don't think we're at a point with our planet that we can afford to add many more of these things.
We don't have much buffer, that's for sure.
And as I said before, how many trees can we fucking plant? Like, how... That's not a
we need to plant
forever
many,
thing either.
It's not the only thing. It's like, it's also about, it's like how people forget that reduce, reuse, recycle. Like, they forget that actually 90% of recycling is reducing, not like recycling. Because like the actual waste is, you can't extract that much. And I think that's the same thing. I think we should talk about at least one other thing on this show. We probably have about 10 minutes before I should go and do my job. So...
But real quick, the Exxon, totally. Chevron, and Shell are the reason that we have any personal responsibility for saving the planet, when it's like 70 companies are responsible for 90% of everything bad. So it's also like, that's my problem with NFTs, is it gives the individual a lot more harm they can do, versus like, if you throw out a glass bottle instead of recycling it, like, you're not the problem. Like Shell is. Okay.
I think,
it's yet another thing to like individually shame everyone again.
Right, exactly.
Which is something I don't really agree with. But then again, I feel like I shouldn't add something that I don't actually need or see the use for, other than a contract.
So, I'm going to endorse another podcast, which is the most podcasting ever. But if you haven't listened to How to Save a Planet, it's very good. I don't think they've actually talked about this yet, but I love that show because they talk about a lot of these issues where it's like, a lot of the things that you see around like green technology is people like whatabouting it really hard, like sort of like we're struggling with here. So one of them on the show was like, and I have had this exact situation. It was a person that was they wanted to buy a new electric car, but their partner was like, no, well, it's still a new car. Like, you're buying something new rather than like something used and so they actually deconstruct it and like try and figure out if it is better or not. And so I really recommend that. It's not necessarily about NFTs, but I guarantee they'll talk about it. So let's talk about at least one more thing today. Other than this, does either of you have something on your mind?
Yeah. I want to talk about Paramount Plus.
Oh my god. What? Okay. Before you even say anything, are we really screwed with all these services just adding plus to the end forever now?
Yeah, for sure.
God damn it. Google Plus. I thought we had burned this.
CBS All Access had such a bad reputation, and then I think they acquired some more content, and so it was like the idea... I don't know, I heard someone say that they should have just called it All Access, and that would have been a good like streaming platform name. And also kind of descriptive, like, oh, you get everything. But anyway, they went with Paramount Plus, and I want to bring it up because, one, there's constantly this conversation about the streaming wars, but I really, really always want to remind people that, like, most of these streaming platforms are North America only, like US and Canada, sometimes the UK. Like, you can't watch HBO Max, like, quote-unquote, legally here in the Netherlands.
I just want to say, you think it's Canada, really it's never Canada. We never get anything.
It's just, like, Paramount Plus is not a competitor in the streaming space except for Americans. Because I had to use a VPN to access it.
Else.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Netflix and Disney Plus are the major players because they're accessible in a lot more countries. That's it.
Absolutely.
Like, everybody
Even though
else
the content is spotty, you can still at least get in. Like, they've dealt with the realities of it. And it's interesting you say that, though, because you said Canada. I can't even get HBO here, man. Like, it's the same as the Netherlands. I have to get it from a cable provider. It's insane.
No, we also have to get it from a cable provider.
Yeah,
you can't just go to the website
and... US and Canada. No, I can't even get Hulu. It's like, I can drive to the border and listen if I go on cellular, maybe, but yeah, it's not.
So the reason I want to bring up Paramount Plus is they've just launched in the United States, and obviously they're trying to get people to sign up for yet another subscription, and that's hard. Now, something else that happened this weekend was Harry and Meghan did an interview with Oprah, I'm sure everybody has heard about it. There were over 17 million consecutive viewers.
Really? Concurrent viewers? Wow.
Concurrent, yeah. It was live. I watched it. It was amazing. I would say that I was searching the internet for how to watch it. And
Same.
It was like, you have to watch it from CBS. Because CBS they paid $7 million to get the exclusive streaming rights to the edited interview. I know that Oprah's been like putting clips that didn't air on like TikTok, which is really interesting, and we could talk about like separately. But real quick, so I know I have to get it from CBS. So I type on Google. I don't go to CBS.com. I just type on Google like CBS Online. And the first thing that comes up is Paramount Plus, right? Their new service. So I, turn on my VPN to the US. I sign up for Paramount Plus, put in my credit card information, right? Type in Harry and Meghan. You know what comes up is their wedding. It's the only thing on Paramount Plus. The interview that everyone watched was on CBS.com, and you just needed a VPN to watch it for free. I mean, they made tons of money.
It was in an app.
Right. They made tons of money on ads. It was like watching the Super Bowl. Like, there were just an ad every 5 seconds, and there were tons of them. But what a miss. Like, you had an opportunity to make all those people sign up for Paramount Plus.
Wow. And
you just dropped the ball?
Disney Plus could have... Disney Plus did that at the start. They dropped, The Mandalorian, which was, the thing that made people sign up. That's insane.
It's just the biggest facepalm ever. And I think, maybe... the conversation and the deal with CBS might have happened before they knew when Paramount Plus was going to be available or whatever, or because of licensing, they could do one but not the other. But I just feel like it was a complete miss to not get everybody to sign up for your new streaming service, where your whole argument is you have all the good content in one place. You get people to sign up, and then you start showing them all the content they got with signing up.
I got a hot take on this that I probably shouldn't admit on a recording. But I have to say, all of these new streaming services, I did not pirate anything for years. And it is too hard. Half the time, I'm like, I want to watch a specific show. And here's a good example. Fargo. It's the crime thing. It's on FX. Can't get it legally here. Couldn't figure it out for a long time. Eventually gave in. And so, it's interesting because I feel like we reached a point where Netflix was so good and everybody had all their stuff on it, where it was nobody had to pirate anything. And now it's gone backwards in many ways, because now I have to figure out which app it's in and is it available in my location? People in the US don't even realize how annoying it is. I go to websites that tell you. It's
right, where can I watch this thing?
Yeah, exactly.
So annoying.
I mean,
also a fun exercise. Okay.
It was so hard to even find the Britney documentary.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I also find myself, at least wanting to just download it then, but then that is also more complicated than it used to be, and annoying, and obviously also illegal. And I really, 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 really want to pay for my content. So, but it sometimes it's just impossible.
Yeah.
Why?
I would rather pay.
I'm just here, take my fucking money.
I know.
I think
it's insane. It's the same with movies now. It's they're in everybody's stupid app, rather than just let me pay on Apple or whatever one I use. It used to be fine.
Well,
making it worse.
Let's hope that we know we've seen internet trends. They are always making packages or deals and then unbind them again. Yeah, it's bundle, unbundle, bundle, unbundle. Let's hope that at some point we will get all this shit back together in one bundle.
Can
we can just see all the content, please.
3 years ago, when Apple was starting to, there was all those leaks about Apple making an aggregator, and Apple TV Plus would be the one place. It just, everything got worse. Everyone was Apple's app will have all the things, everything will plug in. Turns out they don't, because you know how the internet works? Everybody likes making kingdoms. And It's a real shame, because it was getting better.
There's that classic joke of, there are 11 different standards. We'll create a new standard to unify all the standards. And then it's there are 12 unique standards.
Yes, the XKCD comic. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you own that on NFT? No, I'm just kidding. On that note, we have about 3 minutes left.
Yeah, let's wrap up.
Can we just talk about one thing that like I saw in the news this week that
Sure.
like kind of made me cackle?
Cackle.
And it's a bit sad. Did you see that like Apple is changing podcasts from subscribe to follow as the action because they did a bunch of research and found that 47% of people didn't realize that it wasn't paying for it.
Oh my god, that's so interesting.
And I wonder if this is a side effect of the fact that like there's all these subscriptions now on these app stores. Like
Yeah.
the iOS app store is full of them. And so they made this change. And I was like, is this why podcasting isn't popular? I realize it's probably not. But
No.
it's just funny because like you subscribe to a newsletter and it's fine. But that it's becoming such a loaded term now that clearly people don't realize what it is.
But this is what I said in the beginning of this this whole Twitter Spaces moment, where I was like, when something is very new, like Twitter Spaces, I'm afraid to touch anything because what if I open a room and then suddenly people can hear me and, well,
Yeah.
this is weird. I think that is the same thing for podcasts still, for people that are new to podcasts. And if you are in the podcast app in Apple, on an iPhone, it kind of looks like the App Store. So I can kind of imagine that people think, whoa, all this content for free? Nah, that's not possible. They probably let me pay for it. And then before you know it, I'm paying €5 a second to be on the,
To be listening to a podcast.
Right.
I love that.
Well, and just to go back to Apple TV Plus, when you want to watch a TV show that's coming out every week, you add it. That's the action on Apple TV Plus, is you add.
Oh, interesting.
And it's like, add what? Add to what? It's such a weird...
I have a layered take here that maybe something else is about to happen though, that Apple is going to let you subscribe to podcasts because it's weird that they haven't. And you know
Like
what?
a super
Spotify's
follow.
going to do it. Yeah, well, Spotify is going to do it. So the truth is, Apple has to figure this out pretty quick because they're losing people to Spotify. Even though I don't really want that to happen, it's happening.
Hey, you know what this you know what this means, I think? I think we are now in the age where we don't assume everything is free on the internet anymore.
It's true. It's like the internet. Oh my god, there's a great Taylor Lorenz article about like exactly this phenomenon that like everything is for sale for creators, and it's starting to feel that way. It's like on every network, I'm monetizing some form of myself, and it's quite a strange thing. This podcast is free. You're not subscribing. The space is free. For now. No, I'm kidding. But, like, it is an interesting phenomenon. But on that note, I think, Zach, you should do the closing spiel.
Sure. I just think for the next time we have to talk about, I canceled my Spotify subscription. And
Oh my God.
Please.
downloaded Google Podcasts, and then I subscribed to YouTube Music and Tidal, which we have a whole episode
God.
worth of content there.
Such an Android user. No, I'm kidding. It's just so good. I love that. Yeah, let's do
we
that
got to
next
talk
time.
about the Tidal acquisition next week, so we'll
Okay.
do that. Thanks for listening on Spaces or in your podcast
Yeah,
player
thanks for
or
bearing
on
with us.
YouTube, wherever you find this. It's awesome that we have like even more venues now. We'd love to hear how the Spaces experience went for the people that were there. So like tweet at us, or you can email us hi@chargepodcast.com.
And next time we'll invite more people up because I didn't know how to do it the entire time. Thanks for hanging out.
And I know that Spaces is going to have a thing where you can like schedule in advance, so people
That's
will
cool.
know ahead of time. So we could do that as well once that's like more widespread.
Yeah.
And then we have a Discord. You should definitely join our Discord. It's where we talk about a lot of these things. It's where we, we'll mention when the podcast is available, and we discuss all these topics further. So if you want to like continue any of these,
chargepodcast.com. In the nav, there's a community button. Boom, you're in. Discord's great. Oh my god, I could talk about like how everything could be monetized through all of these things forever, but that's right. All right, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
thank you. Bye, biscuits.
Bye.